Hey, konnichiwa minasan, it's Gray from Wakizashi's Teahouse over in Japan. How are you doing? Are you good? Are you genki? Are you ready for another review? Well, I've got a Marvel review for you now. It's Spider-Man, Shadow of the Green Goblin, Issue 1. Written by DeMatteis. It's got art by a new-to-me artist. The artist's name is Michael Stamaria. S-T-A. So Michael Stamaria. And colours by Chris Sotomayor. So this is actually a little bit pricey. It's $4.99, but you do get, it says 40 pages on the synopsis, on the solicit, but I think it's about 32 story pages. But I tell you what, I do like this art style by Michael Stamaria. It's cool. It's kind of a little bit old school, but also, I don't know what it reminds me of. It reminds me of someone's style. It's like a much better version of John Romita Jr. But yeah, very good style. The question is it worth buying if you're a big Spidey fan? Because there have been a few criticisms about it just regurgitating the origin story or, telling things that have happened before. But you know what? I don't care. I had a blast with this. It's great to read a story written by a master like J.M. DeMatteis who knows the characters so well. Someone who, has Peter's voice down. He knows the relationships between Harry and Gwen, Norman and Harry. It's just great seeing all this, from the past and being introduced to a Proto-Goblin in here. So, yeah, this, as you can probably tell by my excited, enthusiastic manner, this is a big recommend from me. I really like it. As I say, I've seen mixed reviews, but the user reviews mostly are very, very positive. And I think if you've been reading Zeb Wells's poor ASM like I have in the past, you're sick of the misery guts Peter Parker. You're sick of being told Peter's rubbish at everything. So just come back to this, pick it up, give it a shot, and you'll be reminded why you love Spider-Man. There you go. Okay, so what I'll do, as I always do, I'm going to give, for this time, I'm going to give quite a in-depth, a longer story summary, but I don't spoil the end. I'll leave you with like 10, 11 pages to go. But yeah, I want to show some of this art and read some of the narration because J.M. DeMatteis, he knows what he's doing. He's very experienced and it shows. Okay, so please keep watching. Here we go. We get a great opening credits page here. The Daily Bugle, New York's finest daily newspaper. Inside, emotions run wild, families in peril, and parties galore. There's a picture of Spider-Man and it says, Hero or Menace. After the death of his Uncle Ben, Peter Parker must walk a path of power and responsibility. And then there's a smaller picture with Norman Osborn and his son, Harry. Norman Osborn, super scientist? On the path to create his goblin serum, Norman made one huge mistake. On the opening page, we get a 9-panel recap of Peter Parker's history. The boy who lost his parents at a tragically young age, but luckily he had an aunt and uncle who stepped in to take care of him and love him with all their hearts. He loved them in return. But this boy, he was bright but kind of awkward, a bit of an oddball and an outcast. But then along came a radioactive spider and everything changed. He gained extraordinary abilities with an extraordinary ego to match. Can you blame him? Imagine if it was you or me at that age. Wow, getting those powers. The media dubbed him the Amazing Spider-Man. He'd become a star, but the star dimmed quickly when tragedy struck again. The boy's beloved uncle was murdered by a thug he should have stopped days earlier. And now that familiar grief was joined by a crushing guilt. He didn't feel amazing, he felt ashamed, and he vowed to do everything he could to make sure no one else's uncle would die on his watch, to use his power carefully, responsibly, to be a hero. The Amazing Spider-Man, Shadow of the Goblin, Chapter 1, Family Plot. And then we've got Spidey narrating this here and now. He's talking about the past. My name is Peter Parker. The story I'm about to tell you took place a long time ago, less than a month after my Uncle Ben's death. I've pieced it together from my own memories, first-hand accounts from some of the others involved, news reports, and yes, unsubstantiated rumours. It may not be 100% accurate, but that doesn't mean it isn't true. Then we get this rather bizarre, creepy, strange scene. A red-skinned creature, looks like a cross between an orc and a goblin, is sat down having a dinner party with what appears to be his family. But look closely at their arms. Look at the lines on the wrists. The lines on the neck. These are mannequins. I didn't notice that at first and it really freaked me out, but yeah, it's a great scene this. Creepy as heck. We're told his name was Nels van Adder. He used to work for Osborne Industries, a research assistant on Norman Osborn's biogenetics team. But Nels was more of a guinea pig. He was the first to test a new strength-enhancing formula Osborne was developing, the forerunner of what would eventually become his Goblin formula. But this was months before the Green Goblin. So you could say that Van Adder was a kind of Proto-Goblin. All I can say is he ain't in a good place. He ain't happy at all. I can't go on like this. I miss my children, my wife. And then he tears apart the mannequins, smashes them in his rage. But there's a voice from the back of the room. Family, huh? Nothing but trouble. Then we get a couple of pages of Peter's life at home with Aunt May. They're still trying to get over Uncle Ben's death. We see that Peter's aware of the overdue bills on the kitchen table. Poor Aunt May looks so sad there. Next we see Spider-Man entering the office of Maxie Schiffman, his agent. What a great name. How dodgy does he sound there? Maxie Schiffman. Get off the ceiling, kid. You know that gives me the creeps. Peter needs the money, of course, but he can't seem to get a gig. It appears that everyone's afraid of him now. He's the menace because of J. Jonah Jameson going on the warpath. But Maxie promises to find him something. Then we see Spidey swing into action, going after a purse snatcher. He confronts him and the guy pulls out a gun. He knocks the gun out of the thug's hand and is about to punch him when he stops. Then we get this great page here that reminds us that Peter still knew all this, really knew. There was just one problem. A few days earlier, I'd put a kid I caught robbing a grocery in the hospital with a single punch. Then we get a reference to Amazing Spider-Man Family issue 3. I could have killed him. It made me realise I had no real understanding of my own strength, no way to control it. And that's such a great concept. It's something that's been looked into before, I'm sure, but it's worth, reminding us that, yeah, Peter's strength is substantial. It's incredible. It's amazing. He could kill somebody by mistake. Then we switch scenes to Harry and Gwen, and we're told in the narration boxes that it will be years before Peter meets them. Gwen's so worried about her mum who's sick in the hospital. You never talk about your mum, Harry. And he tells her there's not a lot to say. She died when he was so young that he doesn't remember her. But sometimes I imagine she's not dead. She's out there somewhere. I know it's crazy, but then Harry's dad walks in. Norman goes over to Gwen and comforts her. He tells her he's been checking up at the hospital to see how her mum's doing. If you need anything, Gwen, I'm here for you. Thanks, Dad, you're the best. But Norman shrugs him off. It's strange. I wasn't talking to you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do. Then we switch scenes to a boy's birthday party. His mother's talking about, this year we've got someone really special. Not a magician, not a clown. Well, maybe a clown. Look kids, it's Spider-Man. The boy doesn't look impressed. You're not Spider-Man, you're just some phony in a cheesy Halloween costume. Spidey shows off some of his skills, but the boy is not having it. You really suck at this. That's it, says Peter, I'm done. But the boy's mother begs him not to go. Turns out the boy's dad had died recently, and since then, of course, he's been acting out. Peter puts his head in his hands. What do? I throw a tantrum worse than his. He feels terrible. He feels like an idiot because he was acting like one. To make amends, we get this great page here. Look at this. A lovely scene of Peter swinging through the New York City skies, and he's got the boy securely under his arm. Look at the kid's face. Imagine what a birthday present that would be. In the next scene, we're at a private party with Harry and Gwen. It turns out one of Harry's old private schools has thrown a party. I thought you hated private school, Harry. That was a long time ago. Come on, Gwen, we just need to relax. Enjoy ourselves, okay? Gwen's left by herself as Harry gets dragged away by some of his old supposed friends. Probably the same friends who used to bully him. Gwen gets approached by Sterling Bock of the famous Bock Liquor Fortune. I love the way she says, I don't drink. She's not impressed and starts to walk away. But he's not having it. He grabs hold of Gwen's wrist. Let go of me, now. And if I don't? My father's a policeman, Sterling. Look at her face there, Gwen. She means business. Is that supposed to frighten me? Says Sterling. No, says Gwen, just a warning, and then she knocks him on his ass. She's had self-defense training, self-defense lessons for as long as she can remember. Her dad, it turns out, is a fantastic teacher. But then the red Proto-Goblin bursts into the party. Harry Osborn, I've come for you. Look at Harry, he's out of there. Did he say he's here for me? They're running. And that's where I'm going to end the story summary. There is still 11 pages of story to go, and it leads to a great fight between Spidey and the Proto-Goblin, but I'll leave that for you to discover. Well, that was my story summary. Do hope you enjoyed that. For a score for this, being very positive, I'm going to give this a strong 8 out of 10. As I say, I really enjoyed it. So let's have a look at some of the variant covers, because there are quite a few. This first one is by Dan Panosian. I always want to say Personian, but I think it's Panosian. And it's the vampire variant. Look at Green Goblin there. Doesn't look scary. Real vampiric face there. Nuff said, it says there. Shout out to Stan Lee. So what's next? The second one I have here is a Paul Smith variant. A very kind of minimalistic cover here. I do like the angle looking up at that evil Green Goblin face. Look at his eyes, almost all white there, pretty manic. Yeah, very cool. As I say, limited colour palette too. Very impressive. And next is this rather freaky Mike Del Mundo variant. Look at this. We've got the Green Goblin emerging from what appears to be the back of Harry Osborn's head. Is it Harry? No, it's not. It's Norman. I can't tell with that hair. Hey, it could be either Osborn. But I love the pumpkin bombs behind him. And the last one I want to share is the Alex Maleev variant. A very orange-based cover here. We've got the Green Goblin's pumpkin bombs there. Spider-Man surrounded by fire. Yeah, pretty cool, and a very strong use of oranges in this cover. So there we have it. I do hope you enjoyed my review. Do drop a comment if you've read this. If you're going to read it, are you going to pick it up? Are you a fan of J.M. DeMatteis? Did you read his run back in the day? So yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. This has been Gray, Wakizashi's Teahouse, signing off for the evening here. Matane.